Greetings, my scattered sisters and brothers in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, as we continue on in the Gospel of Mark, we are at a place that I would call kind of a summarizing passage. And it's really our kind of first phase of Jesus' ministry that Mark tells us about, and it comes to a conclusion. And we're at Mark chapter 3, beginning at verse 7. And you'll recall that Jesus just recently healed the man at the synagogue whose hand was withered. He had him stretch it out. It was a Sabbath, and leadership is plotting already to kill Jesus. And now we have this summarizing statement beginning at verse 7. Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed him. And so it's kind of like the first phase of the mission is complete, and now Jesus is withdrawing and maybe even regrouping. But a large crowd is following him. A large crowd came from Galilee and followed them. When they heard all that Jesus was doing, many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the regions across the Jordan and around Tyre and Sidon. And so people from all over are hearing about Jesus. They're coming to Jesus. They're recognizing the power of Jesus to heal them, to make them well. And so because of the crowd, Jesus told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding him. For he had healed many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward, crowding him to touch him. Now, I want to talk about this for just a moment. And so we see people from all over recognizing that Jesus has the power, has the authority to heal them, to make them well. And we see that Jesus is concerned about the whole person, that we've seen him pronounce forgiveness of sins, we've seen him cast out unclean spirits, we've seen him heal people. And so Jesus' ministry is very much to the whole person, to make us completely well in every phase. And Jesus will not allow the crowds to control him, and neither will Jesus exploit the crowds. And so Jesus has the disciples have a small boat ready for him, to where he's not going to allow the crowds to press upon him, to control him, to manipulate him. He's kind of got his space, and he's going to maintain that space. And so Jesus won't allow the crowds to control him, but also neither will Jesus manipulate the crowd. And so he's not charging for photo ops. He's not somehow taking advantage of the crowd and using them in order to amass wealth or power or whatever. And so we see that Jesus truly is operating on his own agenda, that Jesus is on mission, the mission that the Father has given him, and he's not going to exploit the crowd for his own personal gain, and he's also not going to allow the crowd to exploit or control him. Now, we get one more summarizing statement here. Whenever the unclean spirits saw Jesus, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." But Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell others about him. And so the unclean spirits, they recognize who Jesus is, that he is the Son of God. And maybe the crowd doesn't get it yet. Maybe the disciples don't quite get it yet. But the unclean spirits, they know who's in their midst, and they recognize his authority and his power. And yet, Jesus orders them not to declare who he is. Jesus will reveal himself on his terms in his time. And so he silences the unclean spirits, and eventually Jesus is going to reveal himself and his mission more and more clearly, especially to the disciples, but it's his terms, his time. And so we see kind of at this kind of conclusion, if you will, of this first phase of Jesus' ministry, how people are coming to him. Jesus is focused on ministering to the whole person, making us completely well, forgiveness of sins, liberation from unclean spirits, healing from diseases. I mean, Jesus is the one we need. And it doesn't matter where you come from or how far you have to come, Jesus is the one who brings healing and who makes us well. And Jesus will not be controlled. but Jesus will also not manipulate. He's on his own mission, on his own agenda, and he will operate in his time, according to the Father's time. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, kind of reflect on Jesus' ministry up to this point in Mark. And maybe take a moment and kind of summarize where you're at with Jesus, and recognizing that he is our healer. He is the one who makes us well. No matter how far we might come from, no matter where we might come from, Jesus is the one who has the authority to make us well, and he does it according to his time, his agenda. God bless. Have a great day, and we'll keep continuing on this journey with Jesus.